Welcome, everyone. How's the sound, okay? Quiet? Maybe a little louder? How's that? A little better? Jonah? Jonah, can you hear me there in the back? Pay attention, Jonah. This is the same thing happens in class, you know? Yes. So I'm Chris Fink from the Department of English, and my colleague, Fran Tabata, will shortly introduce Kevin Young, who holds the 2013 Beloit College Lois and Willard Mackey Chair in Creative Writing. But before I turn the mic over to Fran, I'd like to give you some history of the Mackey program, as it's called, which is in its 25th anniversary year. How's that, Jonah? Okay. Since 1988, 25 of America's top literary luminaries have held residency at Beloit College, teaching classes, giving readings and lectures, and taking part in the daily life of the campus. And for most of those years, Tom McBride was the person who introduced the Mackey professor, but I don't think Tom is here, which makes me sad. Tom, are you here? Not quite the same without Tom here. Well, we'll be happy in a moment. It's okay. The Lois and Willard Mackey Distinguished Professorship of Creative Writing was established by the late Willard Mackey, Beloit College class of 1947, in honor of his late wife, Lois. Bill Mackey enjoyed a brilliant career in advertising in New York, and Lois loved literature and was an enthusiastic reader. Her memory and Bill's lifelong dedication to Beloit College and to the value of creativity led to the founding of the Mackey Distinguished Writers Program. Those among us who can't resist a good love story, and I hope that's just about everyone here, will be interested to know that Lois and Bill Mackey first dated on December 7th, 1941, when both were Beloit College freshmen. As they were leaving a restaurant in downtown, former Suds, they learned of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Some months later, Bill was overseas in the United States Marines, serving in the Pacific Theater, while Lois continued her study as an English major at Beloit. Lois graduated in 1945, and Bill returned after the war to, among other things, edit the Beloit College Roundtable and complete his Bachelor of Arts in German in 1947. Lois and Bill were married in 1948 and had 3 children, Barbara, William, and David. Dr. Barbara Siegel, William, and David Mackey continue to support the program their father created. One wouldn't necessarily think that creativity and the life of the imagination would be in danger at a liberal arts college like Beloit. But in the 1980s, Bill Mackey rightly perceived the threat bureaucratization and sophistry posed to creativity at Beloit. Bill Mackey presented a speech on creativity in the liberal arts to the Beloit College Alumni Council that is as timely today as it was in 1987. And though I never met the man, both the manner and the matter of his speech convinced me we get along just fine. Bill Mackey stated, "I've got a bone to pick with the Beloit College and the entire liberal arts academic community," he said. "I believe creativity deserves a far higher priority than American liberal arts colleges, including Beloit, are giving it." Keep in mind that this wasn't some yeasty creative writing major issuing the ultimatum. This was a man with an extra $1 million to give away. We are grateful today for the call to action Bill Mackey delivered in 1987. Like the Mackey writers I'm about to list, and like Einstein and other great thinkers, he believed that imagination trumps knowledge, and in that spirit endowed Beloit College with this tremendous gift. The litany of past Mackey Chair holders reads like a dream syllabus of contemporary literature. Since 1988, Beloit College students have studied under the following writers: Tess Gallagher, William Stafford, Ursula K. Le Guin, Rick Bass, Carolyn Kaiser, Peter Mathiasen, Edward Hoagland, Denise Levertov, Amy Hempel, Lee Young Lee, Ron Carlson, Bei Dow, Patricia Hampel, Pam Houston, Billy Collins, William Least Heat Moon, Robert Stone, Richard Bausch, Scott Russell Sanders, James McManus, Linda Gregerson, Giles Foden. These writers have left their collective mark on Beloit, and they've carried the Beloit story with them to share with others. This year, we're proud and grateful to add Kevin Young to the list. And now, my colleague, Fran Tabata, will introduce the poet.
That always happens after I talk after Chris. In his collection, Ardency, a chronicle of the Amistad rebels, Kevin Young writes, "I believe in the sound the soul makes," a line which might serve not only as an introduction to his work, but to the core premise of the Mackey residency. A graduate of Harvard and for his MFA of Brown, Young is the Atticus Haygood Professor of Creative Writing and English and Curator of Literary Collections in the Raymond Danowski Poetry Library at Emory University. He's been a Wallace Stegner Fellow at Stanford, a Guggenheim Fellow, an NEA Fellow, and a United States Artist James Baldwin Fellow. I've been a fan of his poetry since the night I heard him read from his collection Jelly Roll at a Milwaukee bookstore 10 years ago. And I'm so honored to be introducing a poet whose work is among the finest, the most vital and dazzling being written in America today. When Chris asked me to give this introduction, I thought, you know, Kevin Young's one of the rare poets who doesn't require a poet to introduce him, because he proves so very wrong the sometimes tiresome complaint, but sometimes true, that American poetry these days is only written for other poets. At the same time, his sonic register, his love of wordplay, his allusions and metaphors, and his line breaks, no other poet writing today is, I think, so consistently devastating with his line breaks, do make him a poet's poet. This is not a paradox. As Young puts it in an interview, the more I write, the more I think of poetry. I don't think so much in terms of accessibility or academic as of necessity. I think necessity is a much more powerful and useful way to think of poetry. This necessity is evident in every sculpted and yet marvelously demotic line in his thematically varied and substantial body of work. There's no facet of language that doesn't belong in Young's vocabulary, his voraciously rich lexicon, a lexicon absolutely necessary to evoke and wonder at the music, flavor, beauty, and tragedy of American life, past and present. As Time Out New York said of Jelly Roll, the poems are uncannily filled with wit and self-awareness, alive to their very bones, sexy and sad and true. Young has authored 7 collections of poetry, a book of criticism, and has been the editor of 8 additional books. And I admit that when I was composing this, I wondered at what point can an introducer just say, among other books, Kevin Young is the author of. But I realized that I couldn't leave a single book of poetry out of this list, in large part because the title speaks so resonantly to the range and depth of his passions. Most Way Home, winner of the National Poetry Series selected by Lucille Clifton. To Repel Ghosts, and To Repel Ghosts, the Remix, a volume Art in America said is not only compelling, innovative contemporary poetry, it may be the best interpretive study yet of Jean-Michel Basquiat's art. Jelly Roll, winner of the Patterson Poetry Prize. Black Mariah, a film noir in verse whose title is, and I quote, "Vintage street slang for police van and hearse, as well as the name of Thomas Edison's first film studio." For the Confederate Dead, a Quill Award winner. Dear Darkness, and winner of an American Book Award, Ardency, a chronicle of the Amistad rebels. His most recent book is the study, The Gray Album, on the blackness of blackness, winner of the Grey Wolf Nonfiction Prize, and this year, a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award for Criticism. The titles alone beg to be said out loud. Dear Darkness, Black Mariah, Most Way Home. Young's poetry inhabits the blues, and as he said, quote, "The blues aren't just important musically. Their attitude, I think, tells us so much about how Black folks viewed the world and remade it, made it swing. What I find remarkable is the way that they make sorrow sing and laugh knowingly about it all. You see, he goes on, I listen to the blues to feel better, not worse. It transforms us as listeners, takes our troubles away, not by pretending they don't exist, but by naming them. There should be a name for this, I kept thinking when trying to describe Kevin Young's work. And then after reading his take on the blues, I thought, no, the poetry is the naming. In addition to his collections of poetry, and here I will abridge slightly, Young's edited volumes include The Hungry Ear, Poems of Food and Drink, The Best American Poetry 2011, The Collected Poems of Lucille Clifton, and Jazz Poems. The role of an editor is an often underappreciated one, I think. Such anthologies and collections require a high degree of dedication and discernment, which is to say time, thought, and love. But their influence is unmistakable. For readers, these are companions, guides to the journey. Not long ago, on March 27th, to be exact, I checked Facebook and saw a post from an acquaintance that illustrates this really well. It was a photo of a cup of coffee and a notebook page with a date written very neatly at the top and an uncapped pen, and next to all of this was Young's anthology, The Art of Losing, Poems of Grief and Healing. Poem time, the caption said. It's almost poem time here too. I want to thank Kevin Young for the work he's done at Beloit. I'm a Mackey alum myself, as I point out probably too often. I was in the first Mackey class with poet Tess Gallagher. I say it too often because I can't stress enough the impact the program has. From talking with students who have read Young's work for courses, and those who are in his Mackey workshop, I know that he's inspired emotionally and intellectually so many of you here in the audience, and that his work and dedication to the craft serves as a model of what poetry can do when it marries mastery with bravery, soul, wisdom, grace, heart. Those tricky terms, so hard to define in literature because their measure can't be extracted from the writing itself. So in closing, I'm going to quote Sasha Debevec-McKenney, an honors term student who's in Kevin Young's class this term as a representative of these students and all the fabulous things that I've heard them say. So here's Sasha's 5-10 reasons you should go to this reading, which was published in the Terrarium this week, and which, with her permission, I've condensed slightly and retitled The Top 5 Reasons You're Really, Really Glad You're Here. And Sasha's over there. Hi, Sasha, thanks. Okay. Number 5. Kevin Young is an especially big deal, a great poet, and that's an understatement. Number 4. He just had 3 poems to Amy Winehouse, published in the Paris Review. Young's poetry is peppered with pop culture, Sasha writes. Even if you think you don't get poetry, Young's topics, language, and references give any reader the chance to get it. Number 3, in Young's class so far, he's pushed us to see the page as a musical score, to try to understand the effect the punctuation has on rhythm and musicality. The musicality of Young's work is evident, especially when he reads. His reading won't be boring. Sasha promises that. Number 2, you will learn more than you can imagine. The way Kevin Young thinks about history as exhibited in his poetry is the way we at Beloit College are taught to think about history, critically, personally, and in depth. And number 1, he's the first African-American Mackey Chair. The position has existed since 1988. This is history, folks. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you to the Mackeys, to Chris Fink for coordinating the program, and of course, thank you so much to all of you for being here and for joining me in welcoming Kevin Young.
Thank you so much. I hope I can live up to that wonderful introduction. I was thinking while you were talking that we should go on the road. Could you do that every time? I'm afraid it's going to be a little bit longer till poetry time because I'm going to read some prose first. But I do want to thank the Mackey family and the Mackey Chair. It's been a really wonderful time so far, and I look forward to the rest of my residency and professorship here. I want to thank Fran again, and I want to thank Chris for all his hospitality, and for the president and his wife for a wonderful time here. I'm going to start with a bit of the Gray album, which is my most recent standalone book, non-anthology. And it's a book about, well, a lot of things: music and lying and loss and writing. I realize that it sort of takes up this hidden tradition in African American culture and letters, and also a sort of tradition of hiding, and it goes from slavery and the spirituals and the codes and the spirituals to the present. So it's not a short book. I will make it short tonight, I promise. So I'm going to start with a little part about the blues. The blues contain multitudes. Among the last mysteries, blues music resists not only sentimentality, but also easy summary. Just when you say the blues are about one thing, lost love, say, here comes a song about death, or about work, about canned heat or loose women, hard men or harder times to challenge your definitions. Urban and rural, tragic and comic, modern as African America and primal as America, the blues are as innovative in structure as they are in mood. They resurrect old feelings, even as they describe them in new ways. They are the definitive statement of that new invention, the African American, though when Langston Hughes first wrote on them and through them in the 1920s, he felt as much resistance from black folks as white. Known by black churchgoers as devil's music, the blues are defiant and existential and necessary. Blues singers describe walking with the devil or preaching the blues, as Son House did. Yes, I'ma get me religion, I'ma join the Baptist church. Yes, I'ma get me religion, I say I'ma join the Baptist church. You know I want to be a Baptist preacher, so I won't have to work. Then turn round and sing of John the Revelator. Both the bluesman and the preacher, whose own story often includes being called to the pulpit after a life of sin, know full well that most folks choose both Saturday night and Sunday morning. One, after all, turns into the other. Perhaps the best way to describe the blues is to say they reveal and revel in all our holy and humane contradictions, and that this revelatory quality announces itself not with the book of the 7 seals, but rather the broken seal on a bottle of whiskey. The same bottle that, poisoned one way or another, will leave you barking at the moon. The same bottle that, broken, you can smooth down to slide over the neck of your guitar. The blues will surely get you, but offer good morning when they do. So this is a little later in the book. In a long piece I wrote about hip-hop. I thought I would write like a book about music and get all the way to like 1984 and stop, which doesn't make sense. So I realized I had to write this hip-hop chapter, and it ended up a long revel at the end of the book. And this is a little part about the hip-hop love song. The hip-hop love song is a genre inaugurated by Spoonie G's Love Rap, 1979, popularized by LL Cool J's I Need Love, elevated by Bonita Applbaum, perfected by Mary J. Blige, and wedded in all its contradictions by Give Me One More Chance by Biggie Smalls, the most unlikely seducer in the history of radio play, or play, period. But to put that song on at a party, say at an after party, dancing in a commandeered hotel room, is to see how Biggie's directness, which is sometimes crass but always clear, can be honest and playful and pleasing. And that ugly, like noise, is not just relative, but something to be redeemed. Heartthrob, never black and ugly as ever. The ladies seem to like it. The hip-hop love song is not a genre, in love with prettiness, but one of seduction and suspicion, of confession and conflict, even one of testing and testiness. It is like hardcore rap, which has a surprising number of such songs, about the beginnings of feeling and about the desire to desire. Notorious B.I.G. and even the hip-hop love song ain't necessarily for lovemaking. It is not music to make babies by, as with Barry White, Biggie's spiritual Big Papa, but for before, for the dance floor, the hustle, the grind, bumping uglies. Longing in hip-hop is always aspirational. Hip-hop even aspires to want. Hip-hop charts a preparation for a feeling, not necessarily the feeling itself. I could really use a wish right now. In this way, hip-hop isn't always useful for or used to the idea of being in love or of losing love. My girl, soul music sang. I feel love, sang disco. Like its crazy cousin, nicknamed New Jack Swing, hip-hop insists, I need love. You got what I need, but you say he's just a friend. That space between meeting and making, between a good time and the nostalgia for those times, between good times and delight, is the one good hip-hop occupies. Being down seems to be the larger point of the hip-hop love song. Real love, as Mary J. sings. What's next, the music asks, like the dancer imploring the cosmic DJ. Just because you make a request, hip-hop says, don't mean you'll get to hear it, but we can hope. And the last part I'll read is from a little manifesto at the end of the book called Deadism. Deadism. It happens every few years, perhaps oftener. We get the article, widely and usually well published, that declares poetry dead. Usually the accompanying sound is less a lament for this premature pronouncement than a jig on poetry's prepaid grave. Rarely do I hear such an essay sound more like an Irish wake or a New Orleans jazz funeral. Two sounds I think poetry should aspire to more often. A raucous solace. Instead, poetry is dead. I disagree. I plan wild essays. I respond point by point, debunking and spelunking. But tonight, why not? Poetry is dead. Let it be dead then. Let us write as if we are already dead. If poetry is dying, then let's write a poetry pronounced DOA. Perhaps it is just because I've witnessed too many deaths these past few years, but I've tried since to write a poetry of life against those deaths and even death in general. Maybe. But it also seems to me some of the same folks who think poetry is dead or proceed without it turn to poetry in crucial moments, at a death or a wedding. Poetry as invocation, as ceremony. I want an after-party poetry, a poetry that sings a bit off-key, drunk or I never touch the stuff, but sings anyway. For years, I felt poetry was not ceremony, but the daily thing, the dirt. It is an everyday, not an occasionally. I still think this. But perhaps the only way to make this truly true is to write a poetry that is not like death, but is death. Surprising, yet inevitable, every day, yet far off in the future, and ever present that we still manage to forget. It is, in this, resembling jazz? Or is this simply because, as Ralph Ellison says, life is jazz-shaped? Death may be jazz-shaped too. Just ask Gabriel and Satchmo in their cutting contest. The only way to find out is to write a dead poetry. I'm not taking this lightly. I'm not suggesting a poetry of suicide, don't do it, or of homicide, give that up. I am not suggesting a poetry celebrating war or ignoring war, or poetry of a war that we celebrated too early our victory in and now cannot ignore. The deadening of poetry is celebrated too early and often too. A dead poetry does not believe in sides of any kind. It believes in insides, in soul and sorrow, in silence, and also the singing that is against such. Deadism believes that poetry should capture a living language. It just knows that we should write in a dead language too. Write not like something endangered, not like a spotted owl or something reintroduced into the wild but dead already. The poetry of they're coming to get us, the poetry of the horror movie I've seen too much of, the poetry of lament, of victimization, or of worse, of declaring the various nefarious threats, seems to take too much pleasure in watching the killer even as it shouts out warnings in the theater. This poetry is over, but unfortunately not yet dead. Write not like a coming extinction, but like the extinction already. That said, do not write like a dodo, something rare and flightless, but like the passenger pigeon, a poetry once plentiful and ever present, and so therefore killed off. Do not write a poetry of rarity or of rarefication, but of never again. Do not even write this poetry, but find it, come across it, and step over it. The helpless ant that in the end can lift more than 10 times its weight, that is a poetry. So, let's see about this whole poetry thing. I thought I'd read from my book, Dear Darkness, which is a book that started one way and ended a very different way. It was a book of memory at first. It had sort of some odes in it, and some blues, and then it really ended up a book of elegy when my father died. And I started to realize that the blues was kind of an ode and an elegy mixed together. It was praising a thing that was gone often. So I thought I'd read a few blues poems to start us off. This is called Last Ditch Blues. Even death don't want me, spiders in my shoes. Even God, I tried drinking strychnine or going to sleep neath the railroad ties. Always the light found me first, the law. Put me under arrest for assaulting a freight. Disturbing what peace? Turns out it was only strict 8. Tired of digging my own grave. Tired. Spiders in my shoes. The paper boy only sold me bad news, and wet at that. The obit page said, not today. The weather blew too. Stones all in my shoes. This is called Flash Flood Blues. Or it used to be called that. It seems to have left. Oh, there it is. Flash Flood Blues. I'm the African-American sheep of the family. I got my master's degree in slavery. Immigrant to the American dream, evacuee. I seen the water ladder its way above me. Swam to the savings and loan. No one home. I've steered hardship so long. Even my wages of sin been garnished. Wolf tickets half off, collect call and response. Whenever we pass on the street, death pretends not to know me, though the grapevines say, he's my daddy. This is Something Borrowed Blues. I finally found me a nice girl to marry. I thought she'd been voted most likely and pretty. Turns out she was voted most pity. Went on down to the courthouse and the test said we were kin, not blood, but same proof of liquor stained our veins. We eloped anyway. Her mama's name was Backhand and her daddy called Jalopy. They couldn't give her away. She had a voice like an axe and danced like a pickup wrecked beside the road. We spent our honeymoon at home since hell was booked till who knows. So I was born in Nebraska, and where I wasn't there very long, but I was there. And we moved around a lot, and then I ended up in Kansas when I was 9. For years I've been telling people I was 10, but I was 9. It's very strange to realize you lost a year. So this poem is an ode to the Midwest. Like I said, I was writing these odes to everyday things. It has an epigraph. The country I come from is called the Midwest. Bob Dylan. Ode to the Midwest. I want to be doused in cheese and fried. I want to wander the aisles, my heart's supermarket stocked high as cholesterol. I want to die wearing a sweatsuit. I want to live forever in a Christmas sweater, a teddy bear nursing off the front. I want to write a check in the express lane. I want to scrape my driveway clean, myself, early, before anyone's awake. That'll put them to shame. I want to see what the sun sees before it tells the snow to go. I want to be the only black person I know. I want to throw out my back and not complain about it. I want to drive 2 blocks. Why walk? I want love and stuff. I want to cut my sutures myself. I want to jog down to the river and make it my bed. I want to walk its muddy banks and make me a withdrawal. I tried jumping in, found it frozen. I'll go home, I guess, to my rooms where the moon changes and shines like television. I did have Ode to Chicken next. I won't read it, but we have to have another meet. You don't want to hear Ode to Pork? Hard, tough call. I think I'll read Ode to Pork. I haven't read it in a while. This is called Ode to Pork. Like I said, I've been writing these odes to everyday things, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them in a moment. Ode to Pork. I wouldn't be here without you. Without you, I'd be umpteen pounds lighter and a lot less alive. You stuck around my ribs even when I treated you like a dog, dirty I dare not eat. I know you're the blues because loving you may kill me, but still you rock me down slow as ham hocks on the stove. Anyway you come, fried, cued, burnt to within 1 inch of your life, I love. Babe, I revere your every nickname. Bacon, chitlin, cracklin, sin. Some call you murder, shame's stepsister, then dress you up and declare you white and healthy. But you always come back sauced to me. Adam himself gave up a rib to see yours piled pink beside him. Your heaven is the only one worth wanting. You keep me all night cursing your 4-letter name, the next begging for you again. So this is from a series of these odes to, I think of them almost to hunger, to the food of my childhood. My parents were both from Louisiana, and though we moved around a lot, that was sort of our homeland was the food we ate in a way, and as well as Louisiana itself. And so I thought I'd read this poem, which is an ode to grits. Maybe I need to explain, maybe not. It's ground up corn, basically hominy. And I was much older, probably, recently learned that it's the same thing basically as polenta. It's just a different price point, really. So I like to order grits in polenta places. Ode to grits. Like y'all, well, and it starts, I should say, with the idea of a grit. Is there a single solitary grit? Does it exist? Ode to grits. Like y'all, or sorrows, or pig's feet, or God. Your name always holds multitudes, is never just one, unlike moose or deer or death, which means both many and alone. Little Lazarus, you're the world before the flood, and what's after are ash turning back to a body. Done wrong, you are the flavor of a communion wafer. Miss Hominy, for years I misheard your name as Harmony, and I was right. Kissing cousin to cream of wheat, godmother to oatmeal, no one owns you, much less no Quaker. Those mornings over strawberry quick, when the kettle called the cream of wheat cook to meet me for breakfast, you waited patiently to shine the whites of your million eyes on me. You must know I love you by the way I like you plain, maybe buttered up a bit. Salty, you keep me on my toes. Let me believe this once in purity. No cheese, no grape jelly, no Mrs. Butterworths. Undoctored, your cloudy stare, unlike my father's, his one eye, no bullet met, that hours after he was shot through the other. I had to decide to give over to someone still alive, some girl or old man whose vision, even dead, ever the healer my father saved. Resurrected like you are daily. Welcome, stranger, pennywise prophet. You are the wet nurse of mercy. The rock water makes speak. This next ode is actually called a prayer. The poems start off in a way about the food, and then I realized they were about my father who had died, and the food was a way of thinking about what I missed, what wasn't there, what was comfort. He was also a terrific cook himself. This is a prayer for black-eyed peas. I don't know if I've ever read it, but I'll read it to you all because you're so nice. So. Prayer for black-eyed peas. Humbly, I come to you now, O bruised Lord, beautiful wounded legume, in this time of plague, in my very need. Ugly angel, for years I have forsaken you come New Year's Day, have meant to meet you where you live and not managed to. I gave you up like an unfaithful lover, but still you nag me like a mother. Like the brother I don't have, I need you now to confide in, my eyes and yours darkened by worry, my baby shoes bronzed and lost. Awkward antidote, bring me luck and whatever else you choose, and I'll bend low to shore you up. Part of me misses you, part knows you'll never leave. The rest wants you to hear my every unproud prayer. Wounded God of the ground, Our Lady of perpetual toil and dark luck, harbor me, and I pledge each inch of my waist not to waste you, to clean my plate each January and like you, not look back. You are like the rice and gravy my great Aunt Tuda cooked. You need, and I, with you, nothing else. Holy Sister, you are my father, planted along the road 1 mile from where he was born, brought full circle, almost. You, the visitation I pray for, and what vision I got, not quite my father's second sight. My grandmother sang she dreams of me and he every night, every night, every night. Small book of hours, quiet captain, you are our future born blind, eyes swole shut or sewn. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, though not much. Going back in time, we're talking a little bit in the class about history and history poems this very week. So I thought I'd read one poem from my long poem called Ardency, about the Amistad Rebellion. In a way, it's a series of prayers I'm realizing as I'm looking for one. And after that poem, in a way, you may know the story, and I'll try to keep it short, but in 1839, the Amistads, as they came to be known, were sold in Cuba, in Havana, and they were meant to go on the other side of the island to Puerto Principe. And they got lost at sea, and food ran out, and they mutinied and managed to free themselves, killing the captain and the cook. They then navigated, they spared their would-be masters who convinced them, hey, you might need someone to navigate, because they were inland people. And they knew that they needed to go toward the rising sun, the east, in Africa, but they didn't know how to navigate by night, and at night their masters sort of rerouted them. So they took quite a journey all the way up to the Long Island Sound, where they were captured eventually and thrown in New Haven jails awaiting trial. The trial was really to decide who they belonged to. Did they belong to their would-be masters who were Spanish, or did they belong as salvage to the Navy who found them? This was after the international slave trade had been abolished, but it still sort of happened illegally and continually. They were thrown in these jails, and abolitionists from New Haven and Yale took up the cause and taught them English and converted them in order to stand trial. They were tried before the Supreme Court by John Quincy Adams, you may know. So this is in the voice of one of the youngest member of the group, a boy named Kale. I think he was probably 11 or 13, and he picked up English first, and this is a letter he's writing to one of the abolitionists, Lewis Tappan, who is an important figure. And remember, he's just learned English, and he's just been converted. And what I loved about the Amistad story, and what drew it to me almost 20 years ago when I started writing this book, was the way that they, in these letters, which was the first thing I saw, they wrote on many different levels. They had to sort of speak in this master tongue, but they were saying some other things in it. So this is called Westville, October 30th, 1840. Dear Sir, Mr. Tappan, I want to tell you something. I'm going to write you a letter. I will write you a few lines, my friend. I began to write you a letter. I bless you because I love you. I want to pray for you every night and every morning and evening, and I want to love you too much. I will write letter for you from that time Jesus began to preach and say, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. My dear friend, I thanks you a plenty because you send me letter, and I thank you for it. And I want to pray for you every evening and every night and every morning by day and by night, and his always. Mr. Tappan, love us. Pray our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be. I want to tell you something. I have no hat. Dear sir, I write you if you please, and so kind I please you, that I please you, let me have a hat to cover my head. That I please you, dear friend, I tell you something. I please you that you let me have a Bible. My friend, I want you to give me a hat, and I thank you a plenty, and I have no Bible and hat both. My friend, I give you good loves. I believe you are my friend, my sir. I want you tell your friends, my good loves. I want love, all teachers who teach me, and all my people good things about Jesus Christ, God in heaven and everything. I bless them that teach me good. I pray for them. I want write some your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. O Lord, my friend, I write this paper to you because I love you too much. My sir, I want to tell you something. When we in Havana vessel, we have no water to drink. When we eat rice, white man no give us to drink. When sun set, white men give us little water. When we in Havana vessel, white men give rice to all who no eat. Fast he take whip you. A plenty of them died, and Havana men take them, put in water. I try to write letter of paper for Mr. U. And Jesus said unto him, no man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God. My friend, I am stopped writing your letter, gone to you a letter. My name, Kale. I am your friend. I give you this letter. So that's Kale. I will end with some new poems. These are from a book that'll be out next year called Book of Hours. You're seeing themes, I think, emerge that I didn't intend, like Books of Hours, which I think are beautiful. They're the little, devotionals. And this is called Bereavement. Bereavement. Behind his house, my father's dogs sleep in kennels, beautiful, he built just for them. They do not bark. Do they know he is dead? They wag their tails and head. They beg and are fed. Their grief is colossal and forgetful. Each day they wake, seeking his voice, their names. By dusk, they seem to unremember everything. To them, even hunger is a game. For that I envy. For that I cannot bear to watch them pacing their cage. I try to remember they love best confined space to feel safe. Each day, a saint comes by to feed the pair, and I draw closer the shades. I've begun to think of them as my father's other sons, as kin, brothers in paw. My eyes each day thaw. One day the water cuts off, then back on. They are outside dogs, which is to say healthy and victorious, purposeful, and one giant muscle like the heart. Dad taught them not to bark, to point out their prey, to stay. Were they there that day? They call me like witnesses and will not say. I ask for their care and their carelessness, wish of them forgiveness. I must give them away. I must find for them homes, sleep restless in his all night. I expect they pace as I do, each dog like an eye, roaming with the dead beneath an unlocked lid. This poem is called Rue, as in regret, R-U-E, or a street in French, I guess. Rue. Strange how you keep on dying. Not once, then over and done with, or for. If not every day anymore, each evening a Sabbath of sundering. Then hours still arrive, I realize nothing can beg you back, nor return to us days without harm, heaven only an idea. Hell, not yet that week I couldn't bear to sleep in your half-life house, and my future wife and I stayed at the worst Western, the phone ringing early and late, too late. I'd wake, and you'd be there, gone, retreating to the bleak bathroom and its heat lamp, perched on the edge of the empty tub. I'd try not to write. How terrible to have to pick up the pen, helpless to it, your death not yet a habit, and try to say something other than never or hereafter, to praise among the tile, not your dying, but having been alive. The pale bathroom whose light burnt on, red as a dark room, ticking down. Your eulogy dashed out among the tiny broken soap, each day shrinking, slivered in our hands. Come, late afternoon, the distant wet slaps of children poolside, crying out in laughter, their muffled, watery shrieks echoing after. This poem, is called Expecting. Expecting. Grave, my wife lies back, hands cross her chest, while the doctor searches early for your heartbeat, peach pit, unripe plum. Pulls out the world's worst boombox, a Mr. Microphone, to broadcast your mother's lifting belly. The whoosh and bellows of mama's body, and beneath it, nothing. Beneath the slow stutter of her heart, nothing. The doctor trying again to find you, fragile fern, snowflake, nothing. After, my wife will say, in fear, impatient, she went beyond her body, this tiny room, into the ether. For now, we spelunk for you one last time, lost canary, miner of coal and chalk, lungs not yet black. I hold my wife's feet to keep her here, and me, trying not to dive starboard to seek you in the dark water. And there it is, faint, an echo, faster and further away than mother's, all beatbox and fuzzy feedback. You are like hearing hip-hop for the first time. Power hijacked from a lamppost, all promise. You couldn't sound better. Break dancer. My favorite song bumping from a passing car. You've snuck into the club underage and stayed. Only later, much, will your mother begin to believe you're drumming in the distance, our Kansas City and Congo Square, this jazz band vamping on inside her. Fran and Sasha mentioned these Amy Winehouse poems. They're supposed to be called Winehouse. They actually call them Amy Winehouse, but I don't know. I guess there's a difference, but I was thinking more of wine than Amy. So I thought I'd read a few and then end with from Book of Hours. So this is Winehouse 1. The world is your lawyer. Pawn shop pearls, hair like telegraph wire. My body, my bed unmade. My skin's my twin, inked. These arms of mine, and already written like my obit. Bouffant headstone high. What doesn't shine? I have cats for eyes. For breakfast, my own fist. In black I dress. They are lonely in a looking glass or a shot. I dance like a thought, like a lie I've been caught. What I am is what I'm not. Oh, how grateful I will be. I'm sick of maybe, my baby daddy. Folks, I'm fed up with loss, with lists. First place with a bullet. My shoulders bear Valerie, Valerie, a picture of my mother. Let us lose one another, our tattoos the only reminder. Far from either shore, I wander. After a few weeks, they call off the search on account. Well, sometimes I go out by myself of weather. How many fingers am I holding? Like a bad hand, I'm folding. I've hitched my star to the wagon I'm again on. I miss your tender hair, and I look across the water. This is another one. Hungry as a hangover. You know our nails are the same stuff as a rattlesnake tail. Venom cobras cold through my veins. I ain't got 70 days. I sleep like a storm. I sing till I'm warm. Mortal, my hair coils above my head. Smile red as my eyes. Even snake charmer hands are holy. I don't got 70 days and bitten. Snaggle-toothed, beautiful, blue as a vein, I can sing my tail off. A fortnight later, I'll grow back another. I ain't got 70 days. I'm living on borrowed wine. Last of the light, only I seem to mind. I sleep to see what I might find. Yes, I've been black, but when I come back, I want to be anonymous as America, as famous. Market my words. I've been treading so long this water into wine. Why fight? My tongue hurts. Even with death I flirt. And if my daddy thinks I'm fine, I'm in love with the light, how it spills across all it touches, burns and blooms. I cave, I parade, I quail. For somewhere I've set sail, 3 sheets to the wind. Don't tell my mother where I've been. I say no, no, no. All right, I'll just read a couple more here. Thanks for being such a great audience and coming out on a Friday. All right, I'll read 2 more. This one is about driving, which I did a lot of to get up here. It was 10 hours in one day and then 5 the one before. But this is about driving on the West Coast, up the coast. This is called Gravity. I've tried telling this before, how the light stabbed its way out of the clouds, rays aimed everywhere. No, it was the earth that day, drawing light out of the sky, heavy, gravity pulling the light to rest on its chest, a ladder leaning. In the valley north of the city of angels, mountains around us, my passenger a twin, 1/2 of 2, their mother killed a year or so before, helicopter catching a power line, gone. And I, knowing nothing then or too much, said little, maybe sorry, which isn't all you can say, but mostly, though I didn't know that then, And we were fighting with my warbling tape deck, no doubt, when we saw it, tumbling end over end across the highway, a car flipping and spitting up dust and God knows what else, midair. And almost before I could reach the shoulder, my friend out across the lanes, racing to the crumpled car, to his mother. Even then, I knew it was her he hoped to meet. Instead, in the scorched grass of the median, a spare or spared shoe, books flapping their wings, and a man dazed, somehow thrown clear, kneeling. We were not the first. Already some off-duty nurse or Samaritan beside him within seconds, asking what I should have. Are you all right? He held no answers, no language for where he had just been, almost stayed. The car turtled over on its back, its brokenness that could be our bodies, not yet our lives or his. And my friend, the twin, almost there in time. Me slow behind, the last of the first, scared to see, looking on in horror and wonder, clothes tossed everywhere, now no one would wear. The broken mirrors missing bodies they once were conjoined to, closer than they appear. A blinding, splintered sky, helpless, we soon would turn and sail off under. And this last poem is the Book of Hours. There's 12 or so, but I'm just going to read a couple. This is the first one. I'll read the last one. The lights here leave you lonely, fading, as does the dusk that takes too long to arrive. By morning, the mountain moving a bit closer to the sun. This valley belongs to no one, except birds who name themselves by their songs in the dawn. What good are wishes if they aren't used up? The lamp of your arms, the brightest blue beneath the clouds, we guess at what's next, unlike the mountain, who knows it in the bones, a music too high to scale. It's death there is no cure for. Life, the long disease, if we're lucky. Otherwise, short trip beyond and below. Noon, growing shadow. I chase the quiet round the house. Soon the sound. Wind wills its way against the panes. Welcome the rain. Welcome the moon's squinting into space. The trees bow like priests. The storm lifts up the leaves. Why not sing? Thank you. Thanks.
Wow. It's a special occasion. You can memorialize it by buying a book, and the author will sign for you in the back of the room. Thanks, everyone, for coming.